Hey there, writers, and welcome back to another review. We're going to switch it up a little this Monday because yesterday I watched a new movie, Smiley Face Killers, that came out in 2020 and stars Ronen Rubinstein, who is also the star in one of my favorite TV shows, 911 Lone Star. So you can all guess why I watched the movie. So we are going to switch things up a little, and this review Monday, we are actually going to do a movie, this movie. So Smiley Face Killers, like I said, came out in 2020 and is a movie based on the urban myth of the Smiley Face murders, which are a string of suspicious drownings dating all the way back to the 90s. They're unsolved cases. Law enforcement that are involved in the drownings do suspect that they are connected, that they're serial killings, but no actual proof or actual killers have been founded. So that is the urban myth that this movie is based upon. And it stars Ronen as Jake, who is the lead character. And throughout the movie, he is stalked by these Smiley Face Killers up until the end. So the movie is actually rated quite low. It is a 3.7 out of 10 on IMDb and a 1.5 out of 5 on Screen Rant. It actually has no reviews currently on Fandango, so I can't give you a Fandango review. It is a 55% positive on Google reviews, and for me, my review is a 3 out of 5 stars. And I did give it a little more credit than a lot of other reviewers did, and I'll tell you why, because why I'm here. So, in my opinion, Smiley Face Killers had a great idea to work with. It had good casting, good characters, good dialogue. Unfortunately, where the movie fell short was its execution. So, what I mean by that is they did everything right as for the prep to the movie, but then when they actually sat out and storyboarded and figured out what they were going to focus on, they just shot into left field, and we don't know why. So I will say, to give the movie and to give the creators credit, it is really hard to do kind of a loose ends type of movie where you end the movie with some mystery still attached to it, or it's the killers got away movie. When I was writing my blog post that I'll go ahead and link below, I immediately thought of the movie Us and how that ending was kind of like they got away with it and they're leaving, and it left open. So far there hasn't been a second Us that I know of, but it was kind of an open-ended movie of what's gonna happen next. Those movies are actually really difficult to do because you're playing a balancing act with the audience. You have to give the audience enough mystery to keep them intrigued and to keep them kind of thinking about the movie after it's ended because it wasn't fully satisfied at the end. And you also have to balance between giving them enough information that they actually know what's happening on screen. So I will argue to say that Ronen is actually one of the sole redeeming features of the movie. As I said, he plays Jake, the main character who is getting stalked by these Smiley Face Killers. And he does an admirable job of kind of trying to carry the movie based on Jake's characterization. But unfortunately, there's only so much a lead actor can do when the movie is so determined to be so mysterious that you don't know what's happening. And that goes back to what I was saying about playing a balancing act. With unresolved movies, you do have to give the audience enough, and it's not just movies, it's in books too. You have to give the audience enough information that they know what's happening and why. And those whys are never addressed in this movie. There's so many questions. I almost lost track of how many questions I had that just never got answered. We eventually learn that these Smiley Face Killers are killing what we are alluded to. We're not actually, now that I'm even saying it, we're not actually explained it. We're just alluded to. We're given a few, telltale hints that they're killing individuals that they believe are like a reincarnation of an individual named Gailel, I think is how you say it. I've already forgotten. And that's why they're killing these people. They think they're the reincarnation of Gailel. But that's really all we're given. We aren't told why they think these individuals are the reincarnations. We don't know how they find their victims, how they choose their victims. We don't know why water? Why drowning? There's a very brief scene where Ronen is looking up, the killers have been texting him like weird images, and he looks up one of them, and we're given kind of like a computer, like the camera pans in on the computer screen, and we see water and religion, but nothing else is really readable. So we kind of like, we're given a hint that it's kind of religious, and then it's just forgotten, and nothing else is explained on that. So we don't really know why water. We don't know why they have to drown their victims. We don't know when they kidnap him, they're like taking his blood into like jars. We don't know why. We don't know what they do with it after. They like to leave the map out in his room when they were stalking him so that he would like find the map. We don't know why that either. There's so much that they're doing that we're not given any explanation to. And it's designed to make them seem, more mysterious and omniscient, but it really just confuses you in the audience. So that was one issue. The other issue that I have, actually there's two more issues that I have. One, animal deaths. It's probably not a thing for a lot of people, but honestly, if a movie has graphic animal deaths in it, it loses me, like instantly. There have been so many instances where my husband and I are watching things and there's just like a graphic animal death and I'm like, I'm out. And he's like, seriously, it just started. And I'm like, that makes it worse. They opened with an animal death. I'm out. That's exactly what this movie did. I stuck it out for Ronen, but it lost me a little. So that's just a side note because that probably doesn't bother a lot of people the same way it bothers me. But the other main issue I had was, spoiler alert, the main character dies at the end. And I'm torn on this because on the one hand, I understand that sometimes it's necessary, especially in horror films, main characters die all the time. And I see what they were trying to do in the, evil triumphs over the underdog or triumphs over good. The killers are still at large. They're getting away with it. They're still like in the wind and et cetera, et cetera. And trying to kind of contribute to this like unsettling mystery feeling at the end of the movie. But the fact is that during the movie, you as an audience member become a lot more attached to Jake just as a character rather than just like as a plot device. Like in a lot of horror movies, the trick is you make your characters plot devices. And that way it's upsetting when they die, but it doesn't ruin the movie for anybody. You're like, oh, I thought you had it there, but you didn't. That's okay. Not with this movie. They really attach you to Jake. And Jake's a great character. Like I said, Ronen does a great job of kind of carrying the lead. He's struggling with depression. He's struggling with mental health. He's struggling with jealousy with his girlfriend and her ex. And, you kind of see that downward spiral start to play out. And then he just dies in the end. And again, I get what they were trying to do, but honestly, guys, it's a movie. You could have let him escape, not been able to identify the cult members. I mean, they were all shrouded in hoods anyway, and still had your killers are still at large and hunting their next victim ending without killing the depressed kid and ending the movie on a newscast of his roommate being dead by the killers and him being like suspected in it because now he's vanished. And it's like, it felt kind of dumb. It felt like I watched the whole movie just to watch the only redeeming feature of the movie be killed in the end. And it was extremely disappointing. And that's kind of where the issue is in the movie, is I see where they were trying to go with things. They just didn't do it well. And I think that's why the movie has such low ratings. They spent a lot of time on the indie effects, we'll say, the slow camera pans, the, slow zooms. They spent a lot, like I will hazard to say like 30 minutes of the movie is just made up of slow camera zooms on the white panel van in the background, or the killer suddenly appearing in a black hood behind somebody and then they turn around and the killer's gone. So much of the movie was that. Like, I get that it's setting up, but like, oh my God, like they did it so much. Like all that time could have been spent putting into your story and making the story a little more understandable. Like, could have taken out a few slow zooms and let us know why they're killing. Who's Galel? Why water? What's religion got to do with it? So many questions you could have answered in those 30 minutes, and you chose not to. You just chose to focus on the white panel van, which, let's be real, we all know white panel vans mean danger. We do. You didn't need 12 scenes of it. We got it after the first scene. So I'll go ahead and leave it off there. I will say it's not a terrible movie, but the ending definitely docks it, and the lack of execution definitely docks it. Again, I'm not going to lie. I watched it because Ronen was in it. I watched it because I had been seeing a few excerpts from interviews he did about working on the movie and enjoying working on the movie and enjoying portraying somebody who is struggling with mental health, which is also something he's experiencing on 911 Lone Star. His character TK, is struggling himself. And he just does it so well, is the thing. He brings such a rawness to these characters that aren't your normal average run-of-the-mill characters. He brings nuance, he brings feeling. And unfortunately, that's kind of where the movie shoots itself in the foot with Smiley Face Killers, is he does such a great job that you feel like the movie did you a disservice by killing him in the end. Like, no matter how justified it might be, you feel like they kind of screwed you over at that point. So 3 out of 5 stars for that. I did give it a slightly higher rating because I did see where they were trying to go, but I had to dock them because the execution just wasn't there and it wasn't as enjoyable as it could have been. So join me again next Monday for another review, and I will see you guys next time. Later, writers.